Welcome everyone. So welcome to this month's Climate Change Education Solutions Network webinar. We'll just give a couple of minutes to people to get situated and discover us online. And I'm absolutely delighted that our speaker, Tina Dawn Marshall, is already here. She's joining us today from Northern Scotland. So I cannot wait to hear more about her amazing work and her recent book. Meanwhile, I just encourage you to get yourself situated online, and as we're waiting for more people to join, you are very welcome to drop a line in the chat. We will be using Q&A today to take questions, but you can also use chat. We will not be able to unmute the audience to ask your questions vocally, but you are very welcome to type them. And you can also raise your hand if you really have a burning question and need to be unmuted, and I can try to unmute you. But we are also recording this webinar, so please be aware that this recording is going to be available at the CCESN website and at CCESN YouTube channel. So yes, and thank you very much, Tina. So Tina is also dropping a few links in the chat. If you want to explore a little bit more her other projects, she might be covering them today, or that might be something as a conversation for the next day. So welcome everyone. Welcome to May CCESN webinar. GVSU Climate Change Education Solutions Network, as some of you might know, is leading again this year Global Climate Change Week. And so to keep momentum going all the year around, we have decided to host conversations with climate activists and educators worldwide. And so this month, we have an opportunity to talk with Tina Dawn Marshall about her book, Systematic Destruction of Scotland. So even though, the main Global Climate Change Week event is going to happen in October, at GVSU, we will be celebrating it October 14th, 15th. And this is the entire month of October is a month of sustainability and also climate change awareness. So we are encouraging all of you to host your own Global Climate Change Week events on your university campuses, in your libraries, in your schools, in your communities. But we want to stay connected not only during 1 week in October, but all the time, because when we have conversations like the one we're having today, it really helps us to learn from each other and build momentum and build connections, develop international projects, and learn from each other. So this is a fairly new initiative of the CCESN. We started in January with a presentation by local climate activist Tanya Kabala. By the way, her webinar is now available on the CCESN website. You can go to the menu under videos and watch her presentation. And then we also hosted in the month of April the presentations by a group of GVSU students conducting research on climate change. And so in this webinar, we are bringing actually for the first time our international speaker in this year conversations about climate change. My name is Elena Lioubimtseva, and I'm a mother, I'm a climate change educator, who also happens to be a geography professor at Grand Valley State University and a founder of Climate Change Education Solutions Network. I also would like to acknowledge Geography and Sustainable Planning Department, which has been providing a stable home for CCESN now for over 8 years, and I'm very grateful for this support. I also want to acknowledge that I live and work on the Three Fires Council nation's land, and my university campus stands on the 1821 treaty territory, forcefully taken away from indigenous people. So signed in 1821, more than 200 years ago, the Treaty of Chicago required the local tribes to cede nearly 5 million acres of land in the Michigan Territory, including the Grand River Basin where GVSU campus is located. Before I introduce our speaker of this month, I want to make a couple of announcements from the CCSN. So our next monthly webinar in June is Climate Action Through Education, a conversation with Bridget Booth, who is a middle school teacher and Michigan State lead for the national network subject to climate. And some of you might be familiar with Bridget's work if you attended CCS 2025 in October at Muskegon Community College. You probably met Bridget when she presented a wonderful hands-on workshop for local K-12 teachers, providing access to various resources on climate change across different subjects and disciplines. I had an amazing opportunity to see a presentation by Bridget's Booth students at Michigan Healthy Climate Conference in Detroit, almost exactly a month ago from today. And it was really amazing to witness how inspiring is Mrs. Booth. This presentation is really for everyone, not only for educators, but it is especially dedicated for our teachers, for K-12 teachers who are interested to use more curated and ready-to-use resources for teaching children of any age, children and young adults about climate change and help them to overcome climate anxiety and depression and engage in climate action. So please do mark your calendar. Bridget Booth will be talking at CCSN webinar Tuesday, June 16th at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And this might be interesting not only for the US participants, but also for all teachers, for all educators around the world. I also want to remind that Climate Change Education Solutions Summit Ways of Knowing in Climate Change Education will be held this year, October 14, in person on GVSU campus and online all day long to accommodate different climate zones, October 15. And this is a great way to connect with other participants of the Global Climate Change Week worldwide. So we will open those sessions as early as 4 a.m. Eastern Time to accommodate our participants from Indonesia and Australia and New Zealand. And we will just go through the time zones all day long, featuring really interesting and inspiring work that is happening all around the world, learning from each other. So thank you for joining today. Thank you for tuning in. And with this, I would like to invite Tina Dawn Marshall. Thank you so much for joining us from Scotland. And Tina, share a little bit about yourself. You are doing so many interesting things. You are a climate activist. You are actively promoting ecotourism in Scotland. You wrote books. You are a journalist. You're a petitioner to Scottish Parliament. So I even don't know where to start introducing you. So please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, yes. My main claim to fame really is working in Libya, but not many people, especially females, have done that. But being in Scotland now is really exciting. Last night I was online to the UK Transport Forum. I was the only person from Scotland there, which is amazing. And I'm the only person north of Inverness who has this kind of qualification in the economics of renewable energy. So I'm actually doing at the moment an art degree, linking arts with the environment. And at the moment I'm drawing the insides of wind turbines and making a collage. So it's quite interesting. It's quite diverse, really. But also I report into NESO, who do the pricing of electricity. I work very closely with most of the developers in the north of Scotland and trying to guide them in a way so they don't actually ruin the whole of the north of Scotland, which is not easy. But so I do some work sometimes for Nature Scott and the Highland Council and for the Scottish Environmental Protection Agency. And next week, I have to pick up my petition again with the Scottish Parliament, which is a citizens' petition, which we started last May. And the Energy Minister of Scotland finally came to the table in February. He didn't want to, but we got her to do it. So it's quite, because you probably don't know, but energy is not devolved. It belongs to the UK, and there's always arguments between Scotland and Ireland and England, who owns the seabed, for example. But King Charles owns them, actually. So it can be quite political in a lot of ways. In fact, at the moment it's very, very political. We've just had an election, and nothing has changed very much, to be honest. But it's very interesting to launch the book, The Systematic Destruction of Scotland, just before the election. And there was a wonderful woman who didn't get in, called Helen Crawford. Absolutely wonderful, but she didn't get in, unfortunately. So it's quite interesting, quite exciting up here in the far north of Scotland, really, because I am the only one who has this kind of qualification up here. I have a business, Tina Marshall Consultancy Limited, and of course the developers keep trying to get me to do things for free. So I say, well, I'm not going to do that, but you can give me a memorandum of understanding, and then I might do it. So it's quite exciting. Because
this is an exciting moment, yes, and we're very excited to have you here. So I was wondering, could you please share a little bit, like, what brought you into this space of climate activism? You know, like, how did it start? Was you passionate about environment and climate change all your life? Is it something that became a part of your life recently? And how did you come to this space, and what are you working on right now?
Well, how I came in, I suppose when I was traveled all over the world, usually on the bus and on the train. I very rarely flew, except from Europe, of course, to the States 3 times, and all over Mexico. But then, once I'm in the country, I was on the bus. So, on the train. So it's quite interesting, because then you get to talk to the people as well. So I suppose in a way that must have started, I suppose, when I was in my 20s. I'm 71 now. But I suppose I didn't really think about myself as a climate activist then. But because I insisted on travelling on public transport, then I suppose I was doing it, you know. But since I came to Scotland in 1999, and moved to Dunnet Head, which is the most northerly point of the UK mainland, and bought a tea room and bed and breakfast, I became very interested in peat. And I'm still interested in peat. And I've written books about peat, not just about in Scotland, but in Spain, in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. So I was very interested in peat. So I suppose, yeah, most of my life, I suppose, I've been interested, but never as much as now, and determined that the developers aren't going to get their own way. Especially about the bridge we were talking about earlier, Elena.
Thank you, Tina. Could you please tell us a little about your book? I don't know if you were planning to do a slide presentation, or you want to frame it more as a conversation, or if you want to show us a book.
On here, you should be able to get the slides. We couldn't get them to share for some reason. But can everyone see them now?
I don't, but that's okay. You know, like, we can probably have a conversation, like, if the slides for some reason don't share, I think that's perfectly fine, like, and if you have them in front of you, maybe you can just tell us about your book. And you showed me your book earlier, so I was just wondering if you could, for those of us who read or didn't or haven't yet read your book, could you please tell us, tell us about it, and why should people read a book? I don't know if you would like maybe to read a few passages, or just tell us a little bit about what is this book about and why is it so important?
Of Scotland. When I started doing it, everybody thought, our Scottish engineers are absolutely brilliant. They're the best, probably the best in the world. I worked in Libya with lots of Scottish engineers, and in Dubai. They are the best engineers in the world. The trouble is, the Scots don't have much idea about economics, and that's always a problem. And that's an inherent problem. They don't really have much idea about economics, and the fact that you have to have an income before you can spend anything. So it's a bit bizarre, really, that they don't want to understand or don't. And there have been so many financial disasters, like the Sutherland Space Hub, which is mentioned in the book. They poured in £15.5 million. There was a 245-page report before the development started that said that there was no return on investment, but they still put in 15.5. And now, of course, Orbex, a developer, have gone bankrupt, and they wonder why. Bizarre. But there are lots of examples. But that's the worst example. To me, that's the worst. That's the worst example. And the reason it's worst example because it's on my beloved North Island one. So, but that is by far the worst example. But my partner Brian does understand. He is an engineer, and he does understand a bit about economics, and he can spell.
So what motivated you? Was it like, is it something personal? Like, what motivated you to write this book, and how did you, how many years ago did you start? Maybe tell us a little bit more, because I don't think like everybody who is watching our conversation right now has read necessarily your book. So I suppose
I started thinking about it when I launched the petition last May. And I started gathering information, including going to find funding. And I went to a couple of, several organisations, and they all wanted business plans, detailed business plans. And I'd done those already, lots of times. In fact, people in Northern Ireland helped me with one, but they never got accepted because they wanted more and more information. And I said, this is my time pouring this in. You're looking at it. You don't understand it, so you ask for more information. So no, I'm not writing any more business plans, thank you very much. So I decided to go for the book instead. And we had the environmental news, which documented the development of the North Highland Way across the North Highland of Scotland. And we came to a point where there wasn't really much more to report at the moment. So I decided that we were only going to do 12 issues, and now 3 of them are in the British Library in London. So you can't get them anymore. You have to go to London to look in the British Libraries. But the rest are for sale online. And then I thought, well, what next? Okay, well, I'll do this book then. And I started tracking what I was everybody was asking me what I was asking, what I was doing. And I said, well, I can't keep coming to tell you what I'm doing, because what's in it for me? And then, of course, we've got these things called battery energy storage systems. They're very technical. And a friend of mine gave me a copy of his report. And I sent it to the Highland Council, and they didn't understand it. So I said, oh, no, we'll get one of your council engineers to look at it, then he'll understand it. So one day I was in the Highland building speaking with a very nice gentleman from the Highland Council. And this man came along. He was very rude. He said, how can you possibly understand that? You're a woman. So I just walked away. I just walked away. And what a cheek, honestly. You probably never get that in the USA, ever. They wouldn't dare. You certainly get up here.
Right, I think like jerks exist in every country.
So I just walked away. And afterwards, the very nice man from the council came to apologise. So it was really funny. How can you know that? You're a woman. For goodness sakes. And I'm lots of little unbaked like that.
Yeah. This is incredible. I just wanted to say that I was able to download your slides. So like I don't know if at a certain point you want to give also your formal presentation, I can share them whenever you want to.
You go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, I will do it right away. I hope it is the correct file. And again, I apologize for any technical difficulties, but it looks like it's working.
Oh, you're wonderful, Elena. Don't you worry about your technical
difficulties. So yes, and like let me know when you want me to go to the next slide. So okay. What are the specific difficulties in meeting the climate change targets in the far north of Scotland?
If you want to go to we're right up in the north near John O'Groats, which everybody thought was the most northerly point, which it's not. And Dunnet Head is a site of special scientific interest, and it's got puffins, which are just sort of starting to arrive now. Beautiful little thing. And in Ireland, they say that the puffin takes your soul. Very superstitious about puffins. So 120 miles north of Inverness. Sometimes we feel like an island. In January this year, we had no trains. Trains couldn't get through the snow. The buses couldn't get down the road because the snow gates were shut. And we had no airport either. So which is very terrible, really, especially for ladies who are pregnant and have to go to Inverness to have their baby, which they still do. But that's where we are, right up in the north. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm determined that they're not going to ruin it. We do need development. They just need to slow it down and think about what they're doing, which they're not doing at the moment. They're just thinking about the money. And my point is, why are you pouring all of this money in, and where is the return on investment? And they say, well, we don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? How can you not know? So do you like to go to the next one, Elena? So there's no integrated plan at all. I'm trying to get them now to update the local plans. And I think I'm probably making progress with that. And we all have, since I spoke on this last time, we have the scorecards which measure things like building and heating in buildings, land use and transport. And they're all percentages, and they're all over the UK, not just. So that is my next thing, is try and persuade them, A, that they've got to update their local plans, and the second, that they've got to look at the scorecards. The scorecards are easier because they're already there. They don't have to think about much about it. The work's already done. So I've got my put it out for a bit. But there is no internet. For example, at the airport at Wick, they've got a perfect place to have a bus terminal. Will they have one? No. So maybe I should get a man to suggest. So we go on to the next one, Elena. Yeah, cultural difference, especially between CCESN and Sutherland. That's why we couldn't get a community group together. But the Northern Ireland makes us so different. Doonray's always had the money, and right out west at Durness, they hardly ever get any money, and they still don't get any. But so that's why the Northern Ireland Way was done the way it was. It was sponsored by Outdoor Active, which is great because I don't have to do any. People input their own route on, and accommodation. I had to put accommodation on it now. So collaborative effort on the outdoor active thing. So, which is great, you know. Means I don't have to do that bit at least. So yeah, lots of income as I understand the country ways. Going back to the space hub, people are outraged that they're going to ruin their peak, and which is quite understandable. Some incomers just don't understand what the peak even was, let alone how important it is. So, you know, all those kind of things. So we'd like to go on to the next one. Then, yeah, our Highland Council area is huge. It's third of Scotland. Inverness calls the agenda. And last night, this morning I got told off because we were last night in the transport forum. So I was the only person from Scotland there. They complained because I didn't mention the Green Port in Inverness. And I said, well, you should have gone then as well, shouldn't you? Oh no, Inverness doesn't get a mention. Sorry. So I got told off by two councillors this morning. I said, well, if you want to promote Inverness, you go and promote Inverness. So as you can see, they have quite difficulty. So yeah, the political division, no concerted action from the Scottish government, got the SNP in again, and they want now, obviously they want independence. They've said they're not going to open up the oil fields. There's going to be no more licensing. And the King says the same thing. But there's not going to be any nuclear either. It's bizarre. I mean, that's the whole of Aberdeen affected by this. You know? So, yeah, we go to the next one. Yeah.
I was wondering, sorry, I realized that I was muted. I was just wondering, you know, like, I think the political division problem is so much, I think, on our mind as well. So maybe you could just develop a little bit more, you know, like how, you know, like what are, in your opinion, like your ways to overcome this, you know, we call it bipartisanship here, like, you know, like you have other forms of political division that really have negative impact on climate action and have really devastating on communities sometimes. So would you like to talk a little bit more about it now, or maybe later, like depending on how it fits into the rest of your presentation?
How are we? Yeah, Northern Ireland, of course, has always been a problem. They're miles behind everybody else in everything, at least 50 years, and I'm not joking. But the climate change, they haven't. I actually helped them write the energy policy when I worked out them, and I wrote a book. And So, but they're miles behind everybody else. But they would rather talk about the problem between Sinn Féin and the DUP, the unionists and the separatists, than get on with the job. They would rather talk about things which are important, obviously, which happened during the Troubles, the Northern Ireland Troubles, which finished in 1998, was it 1998, I think, when the Good Friday Agreement signed. But they would rather go back and say, yes, my family was killed by the terrorists, who they see as terrorists, then get on with the job. But it's in a way, it's their own fault, because the Sinn Féin, the separatists, don't take their seats in Parliament. They refuse to take their seats in Parliament. And that goes back to Mountbatten, or Mountbatten when he was killed in Sligo. And they refused to take their seats. So twice I've tried them to get them to take their seats. No, we're not talking to them. If you don't talk to them, if you don't go there, you don't have a say. But they can't see it. But that's Northern Ireland. There are about six parties, and altogether, and one of them in the alliance is supposed to be the balancing, but the Justice Minister is just very strange. Everybody agrees with that. As for Scotland, and obviously I've met the First Minister of Northern Ireland, Michelle O'Neill, and I've also met Mary Lou. And but of course, they when I was living in Northern Ireland, because I used to go with a border cook such a lot, and because being part Irish myself, they couldn't understand why I kept going. So they decided I was a Republican. So I said, look, I'm walking down the street in my army uniform. How can I be a Republican?
Yeah. And I understand that being a Republican in Scotland has a different meaning than being a Republican in the United States.
And now the SNP want to join with the Welsh nationalists and the Irish nationalists to form another country and forget about England altogether. So I've got no idea what's going to happen.
Do you want me to pull to the next slide?
Yes, yeah. But I can do a bit more on that next time if you want. Yeah, more integrated working between public services. They don't work together at all. Collaboration. No, they'd rather argue and make themselves and get the job done. We definitely need a review on the planning legislation. Because although energy is devolved, planning's not. So that causes a bit of a huge problem. Develop a strategic plan. Well, review the SCAR cards. That's what I'm doing now. So I've done a little comparison table between Orkney, Aberdeen, and the Highland Council, which is a bit unfair, really, because the Highland Council is much bigger than either. Anyway, so that's a little job that we can press on with. So yeah, let's go to the next one, Elena. Oh, the Pentland Firth. Wonderful. Pentland Firth. The water next. Oh, amazing. You should see the sea when it's really rough. The ferries can't get across it. So amazing. When we lived at Dunnet Head, we looked right out at the Pentland Firth, and you always knew when it was rough, because the ship, the ferry coming in from Scrabster and Stromness, used to come on our side of the Hoy, not the other side. So we always knew when it was really rough. and we faced out, and sometimes it was so rough that the sea would come up, bounce off the rocks, and bend our conservatory windows inwards. Literally bend them. I wouldn't stay in the room there in case they collapse. Well, they never did. So that was all right. But you can imagine the strength of the wind and it's just phenomenal. So it's quite exciting living out there. A bit quieter now where I am now. So and that little place now is a seal centre. And they rescue seals. Seals. Wonderful. Yeah, so lots of new beach cleans with the Marine Conservation Society. Seaweed test last year. And the Scottish Outdoor Access Code, which I helped write in 2002. Yeah, 2002. Also includes access on water. So people don't realise that, but they do. It needs updating. I keep trying to get them updated, but they won't spend the money. So there we go. Go on to the next one. Oh, we've got orca watch coming up. So that'll be great. We always see the big blackfish.
For some reason, it doesn't let me go any more further. I don't know if it's the last slide, if it's the correct.
Oh, it might well be, Elena.
Unless it's just stuck, but it would not go any more further.
Ah.
No, that's all I have, yes.
Yeah, I think that's probably it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to stop sharing so that we could just talk. And so thank you for this overview, and thank you for helping us to get situated in the area where you live in Northern Scotland. So you mentioned that you have just introduced this parliamentary petition. Maybe if you could develop a little bit more, why is it important, and what exactly this petition is asking the Scottish Parliament to do?
Well, we're asking them to have an energy strategy, because we haven't got one. We haven't got a policy either. So the first question was to ask why we didn't have one and how we were going to develop one, which went down like a lead balloon, because it was a very basic question. So that's how I get to put in about up to 1,000 words, and then it goes to the committee, and they decide what they want to do next. And so they came back and quite rightly told me in Parliament speak exactly what they'd done. So because that had never been done before. There are 7 petitions in altogether. Mine is the strategy. And so that's how, and then it goes to the commission and it comes out. And they go, okay, this is that, right. So then you look at it, and when's the commission going to sit again? So Clark is very good. He tells you when they're going to sit again. So you know when you've got to the next submission. So in the next submission, I started talking about the technology and why they wouldn't accept nuclear, which was a bit of a furor, because everybody knows why they won't accept nuclear. But I wanted it down in an official document as to why they wouldn't accept nuclear. And they still don't know why they won't accept nuclear. It's a purely emotional reaction. So then there was a lot of discussion amongst the communities all over Scotland about the wind farm, on how many of them there were, and how much constraint payments were being paid. The constraint payments if the wind farms is generating too much, they switch them off, but the developer still gets paid, which is ludicrous. Anyway, that's how it works. So I said, well, why doing it? We don't need this. We need this. Why can't we have regional networks? Because under the Scotland Act, Donald Dewar, in his infinite wisdom, decided that Scotland is allowed to generate its own electricity, but it's not allowed to sell it, which is a bit odd. But anyway, that's the way. So what the developers do once they've developed it is sell it off to an English company or a foreign company. But in this case, it's usually an English company. So it's a very odd situation, which I keep looking at it and thinking, what are they doing now? What are they doing now? And sometimes I think they haven't got a clue. So now, finally, in February, just before Parliament broke for the election, we finally got the Energy Minister, Gillian Martin, coming to the table. And I was online. And she said that Scotland hasn't got any water. And I thought, what? What do you mean Scotland? We're surrounded by us. So I went to see her. And I said, do you know we haven't got any water? They said, what? What do you mean we haven't got any? Yeah, the rivers are low. The rivers are low. That's true. That's true. There are some places where, the water's low, but we're surrounded by water. And I thought, oh dear. So I started a bit of a row between SEPA and the Energy Minister. So I said, why can't we have desalination plants then, like they have in Spain? Oh, we don't know about that. But we'll go and find out then. So I think I don't know if SPICE, the research arm, have been researching that while there's been no government. I don't know. But the fact that Scotland's got no water is madness.
So Tina, yes, this is fascinating. So you have just written this book and you are bringing your kind of passion for renewable energy in Scotland also into your work for this Global Climate Change Week. And you shared before that you are now working with the University of Aberdeen on the GCCW event. So could you please, how do you use your experience of writing the book about systematic destruction of Scotland and your recent work with the Scottish Parliament, how this work has informed your involvement in the global climate change?
It's totally transformed it. Yeah. And the energy cafe is in the University of St Andrews, and there's an energy ethics event in June. You might want to have a look at that. I think there are some things online, I'm sure. And so that's but also the climate change hubs, which aren't measured. But there's a very great group in Aberdeenshire called the North East Scotland Climate Action Network. They're absolutely brilliant. They're really good at working together, which they're not up here. But so we decided, we were going to have the challenges of the bridges. And you have to go in October during CCESN, and I come from the north of Scotland, find the bridge, take a photograph, put it on my Facebook page to prove that you've been there. And then you have to end up at one of the community events in Aberdeenshire. So that's quite good. That's quite good fun. Obviously, you pay for it. You pay for it. You pay for the list of bridges, and then they have to go and find them. And some of them are quite obscure.
So this is very enticing way to bring people to the climate event, right? Like making them find those very ancient bridges. Like, can you give us any examples? I can imagine some of these bridges might be probably very, very old. Like how many centuries ago? Like when were they? Like, could you give us some examples of those sites?
Well, yeah, there's the one we were talking about earlier. Bonner Bridge is not on that coast; it's further inland. But there's Loth Bridge, which is an old railway bridge, and it's about 500 or 600 years old. I can't remember. But beside it, they build a wooden bridge for the walkers and cyclists, for the walkers. So I said, what about the cyclists and the horse riders? And I can't quite understand how it cost £90,000. I have no idea, but anyway. So they've got those two bridges, one new one, which is only for pedestrians, and then they've got the railway bridge. So that'd be quite an interesting one to do. And that's on the east. Well, I'm not going to tell you where it is in case you come over and do it.
That's amazing. So you mentioned that the rural community in Scotland is quite divided and very often not quite informed about, like what climate solutions can really work. And, there are these different opinions. Is it just specifically in rural Scotland or overall in Scotland? You also mentioned that there is this amazing work, happening at Scottish universities. Where do you see like the future for Scotland, and what do you think are the ways for people to come together around climate solutions, regardless of their like political beliefs and their like how everybody can come in Scotland and perhaps also in the United States to unite in order to address this very important problem.
They're trying to build community networks so that the developers that you have to build a not-for-profit organization to support it first, and then the developers agree how much money they're going to give to that not-for-profit organization, and how they're going to use it. Because they've done that in the past, but they've only done things like village halls and painting benches, which it was great, but we don't need that anymore. I'm saying that this money should be used to fix the roads, because the developers mess it up with all their energy infrastructure. So why shouldn't they pay for it? So at the moment, the developers don't really like that idea very much, but I'm sure they'll come round eventually. But of course, I'm a business. I'm not a not-for-profit. So and I'm also quite bossy, as you probably gather, which might go down in Aberdeen or Glasgow or Aberdeenshire, but not up here. So so that's what they're trying to do, and I think it's good to have these meetings. But if they can agree to do it up here, it would be amazing. But so far, nobody's agreed to do it. So, and they say, "Oh, well, we need you to come and do this." I said, "Well, no, sorry, I'm a business. Like you have to pay me." So, so anyway, they'll get over that eventually. And I think it's a good idea to have this, because then the community is involved. The community is involved in. They have cheaper electricity, which they can generate themselves. That they don't have to sell. It doesn't go back to the grid. It goes into the houses, reduce electricity bills. So anyway, we'll see how we get on up here. But I'm a bit skeptical.
What is your vision for implementation of all these solutions that you are proposing in your book for rural Scotland? How many years do you think it will take, and like how we will go from where we are right now to that vision of reliance primarily on renewable energy, implementation of all these technologies that we really already have, right? Like you are writing about all these possibilities that are already available. So the major obstacles seem to be really developing policies to implement those solutions. So again, I know that it's a very difficult question, and I don't know if you have any guidance for us. Like we have solutions. You write about those solutions. Many other people write about climate solutions, but how can we go with this abandoned portfolio of various options to solve climate crisis that we do have already to coherent, organized, united effort to implement those solutions for the better future?
By October, autumn anyway, 2027. And I keep trying to retire, as Elena knows. As opposed to England, apparently, legally required to form the energy policy. It might happen in England, but I have my serious doubts about whether it'll happen in Scotland, unless we get a new energy minister this time. John Swinney will be putting his cabinet together shortly. So I don't know if Gillian and Martin again or if it's somebody else. But we'll have to wait and see. But the energy policy and the framework is the most important thing, not the politics behind it. And they were all talking about personality, as they always do during elections. Oh, well, I like him, I'll vote him. Yeah, but what is he going to do? We don't know. And I said, well, you've got to get somebody who's actually going to do something and not just talk. So I think we have on the hospital side, he hasn't got a clue about energy. So I sent off one of my nice little friends to go and talk to him. He doesn't want to talk to me because I'm too bossy. So, but Helen, he'll talk to Helen, and she's very intelligent. So you have to think about the personalities and the effect on the public first, and also more important, on the people. All these jobs in Aberdeen will be lost if they don't open up those oil fields. All of those Aberdeen will be gone. They say, oh, well, they can retrain. Well, they might not want to retrain. They might be already in their 50s or early 60s. They might not want to retrain. So, it's a bit of a problem. But they do have to have that. In England, anyway, they do have to have that problem. In Scotland, eventually. But, well, if they don't split.
Thank you, Tina. So we have about 4 minutes left of this webinar. So I'm going to open up to make sure that our listeners online can send questions through the chat, or you can raise your hand and ask your question. So again, we are talking with Tina Don Marshall, who is a climate activist from Wick, which is a very small island on the very tip of northern Scotland. Right? So it's a very many fascinating perspectives from your book and from your experience. So if you do have any questions, please send them now. And I see that we also have the link in the chat for Tina's Libyan adventures from worldpress.com. So you can also follow this link and find more about her, her work years ago in Libya and in the Middle East.
I've obviously talked talk them to death, Elena. Just not.
No, I really hope that. No, I see. I hope that. We are still like accessible for raising hands. And well, if you don't have immediate questions right now, or you're kind of gathering those questions, also, Tina, what is the best way to connect with you if people want to ask you questions later? Do you want to drop your email in the chat?
Yeah,
or,
drop me.
like, or website,
or you can look on
website of your book?
My Facebook page.
Yeah.
You're on my Facebook page, Elena.
Yeah, but you can share it if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Or your email or your book website.
Facebook. And
thank you so much.
Book should be there.
And the book is there too, right?
Get the book. So I call it the second clearance. Oh dear.
Well, I hope everything goes well, like with the distribution of your book and future presentations. And again, thank you so much for joining the CCESN webinar today. And thank you for sharing your insights from Northern Scotland. So thank you, Tina. I hope to see you during the GCCW, like maybe, we can talk again during this Global Telebridge, October 15. And I'm looking forward to seeing your event on the Global Climate Change Week.
Oh, yeah.
On the way to all our listeners, please, if you haven't yet registered your events for the Global Climate Change Week, please send your information through the CCESN website. There is a registration form for Global Climate Change Week, where you can just provide your contact information and the title of your event, and it would appear on the map of the Global Climate Change Week, so that other people would also know what you are doing. And if you are interested to participate in the CCESN conversations leading to the Global Climate Change Week, we are also very, very eager to hear from you. So
lovely.
Have a great day, and have a great evening.
I will, Angie.
Thank you. Yes, I understand.
A nice day.
With a difference of time, it's already evening for you. So bye-bye now.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Good luck with your Scottish Parliament.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.